Have you been failing your friends by holding back from telling them the truth? This could be a tough one. This could be contentious, but really important, actually. And just before I begin, I do have something very cool coming up next year called Becoming Superhuman, incredibly challenging program. If you want to know more, send me a private message and I'll send those details through. So, have you been failing your friends by holding back from telling them the truth? This came up actually because I was just on a call with someone I was coaching. So, I've been coaching for a while, and it's really important to me that everyone I work with gets maximum results in their life, like things change. And I'm paying attention to patterns, I'm paying attention to the things they're doing in their life and what they're sharing with me. And I realized, this part has been there for a while, but I realized that I'm not doing this person enough of a service. By allowing this person to make mistakes in the way that he has been. And so I had to have a very direct conversation with him today. And I had to all the things he said he wanted, all the things he said that were not happening, there are very good reasons why. And it was simply because he was not doing what was required of him. And it's very difficult for me to have those kind of conversations with people. I don't like it. It's not something that I enjoy doing. But it was the greatest service that I could possibly be. It's very important that his experience of life is better and is more important to me than my own discomfort. It's very important. So I had this conversation. I actually had to assess, and what I had to say to him was that he'd actually been failing as a client too. Because if you're working with me, it's really important you do the work. It's your life. You have to be carrying the weight. I can be here to support you. I can help you understand your psychology and emotions. I can help you transform your experience of life. I can do that. But you have to work. There's no way about it. You need to be working hard in your life if you want it to change. It doesn't happen miraculously. Having a great session where people have these incredible wow moments is one thing. But what they go and do with it afterwards is more important. How does their life actually change? What are the results? What's working and what isn't? That's actually how we discover what to work on psychologically and emotionally anyway. And so I had to be honest that at the moment he is not at a level where my clients are. And that's not good enough for him or for me. And I had this really honest, horrible conversation about that and to explain why and to get very detailed into what was going on. The things he'd said he was going to do that he didn't. The things he's totally forgotten about. How he was wasting his time on things that really didn't matter and were a distraction and why that was. And so that was what I had to lay bare, really, to really get him to see as honestly as possible what was going on for him in his life. And then, of course, after being that honest and he'd received that, to then go, okay, now this is what you can do about it. And then we worked together to create very specific things that he can do to step up and come in line with that. And it was a very good sign because he actually wrote it all down this time, which is a good sign because it meant that he wanted to do something with it. And it's what he does with it is the most important thing. Now, the truth is, whether it's someone I'm coaching or whether it's a friend or whether it's someone in my life, right? And the same goes for you. When you see someone failing, it's not being kind to let them fail. It's not being kind to just be nice to them without any purpose there. Of course, there may be times when it's important to be sensitive, and sometimes you have to choose your times well. If someone's in a very bad emotion, very emotional in that moment, that may not be the best time because they may need to just feel their emotions in that moment. However, if you're friends with people and you can see them either in relationships that are causing them harm, or they're doing things like drinking too much or doing too much drugs or smoking too much, whatever it may be, eating too much, if we don't say what we see, we are failing them and we are essentially letting them drown in their life. And that's not okay. At least I don't think that's okay. Personally, I don't see that as friendship. I see that as something else. It's more like your own discomfort is more important than that person. It's like, because it's a horrible conversation to be had, right? And the person may really not like it because it may trigger something within them. That's very true. But the willingness to do that for someone is very important. And, when you're looking at your friendships, it's like, do you care enough to be that honest? Do you care about the person enough to be that honest? Because you may not, by the way. This may also be a way of realizing, actually, I'm not though that person isn't the good friend that I perhaps thought they were, because I don't actually care enough to be that honest with that person. I don't think they're going to receive it well, and it may even enlighten you about your relationship. Because if you're good friends with someone, you should be able to be honest and say, look, I've seen you doing this and I see it harming you, and I really care, and I want you to do better than that, and I just want to know what's wrong. Can I help you? Like, what do you need? You know, it's like that. It's, if you care about someone, you should be able to offer that support in a positive way. You know, to help someone transform their behavior, that should be there. If it's not, it may be a problem in the relationship itself. And then, of course, it's like thinking about yourself too, and what do you want from your friends? You know, it's like, do you want your friends to hold back the truth from you? If you were doing something and it was harming you and you weren't necessarily able to see it, you know, you see this in relationships a lot. Happens when people do drink too much, like having a couple of glasses of wine a night. What's wrong with that? Okay, well, what happens if you stop? You know, can you stop doing that? Can you go a few weeks without it, without feeling like you need it? You know, it's like there can be harm. It may not be harmful, but it might be. And it's like being willing to have those kind of conversations with the people that are closest to you can actually make you closer to them. And also, if you, and this is the thing, if you're willing to walk through this world with people being that honest to you, you get to be honest with them as well. It raises your standards for the way you're living your life, and the people around you raises theirs too, because they can have more. You know, life can be more. And I think it's our responsibility to do the best we can for ourselves and for those people around us. Christina agrees. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, it's very important. And what I've noticed over the years is that the more honest I've been able to be in this way, and the more honest my friends have been with me, the deeper our friendship has gone. You know, the deeper the connections have been. So yeah, does this resonate with you? Does this make sense? You know, let me know. You know, hit comment, hit the likes or loves or whatever. You know, let me know what this means to you. If you're watching on the replay as well, you can do that. It's very important because it helps me to obviously to share more and to help more people to know what resonates and when. It's really important to do that. Now, for those of you who are up for a change and like this directness, I do have this very cool thing that I'm running next year called Becoming Superhuman, and I will be beginning applications soon. So for those of you interested in that, you can send me a private message and I'll send you the details through when they're ready. So one of the things that raised this awareness for me was actually, so it can be summed up in a phrase actually, which is, you are more important than my discomfort. You know, you are more important than my discomfort. And it emerged through a lot of the work I was doing with talks and workshops. And I realized a few years ago when I began doing them, that people, when I paired them up, would be talking over each other. You know, people would like talk for 20 seconds and then someone else would chime in, and there wouldn't be much depth happening. So what I started to do was I started to experiment and go, okay, for 2 minutes, one of you is going to be silent and you're just going to listen, and the other person is going to speak. And then when that 2 minutes is up, I'll let you know and you can swap. So it's, you know, so if you come to my workshop, which I know some of you have, you're going to know this is what you do, right? And of course, if you're new to it, it can be very uncomfortable for the person speaking because you've got 2 minutes to speak. Oh my God. Well, someone's just not interrupting you. You're not used to that. And then if you're listening, and this is often where it was the most challenging, it's like when someone stops speaking and they maybe their throat dries up, or you can see they're looking at you, please save me. There's that urge to want to save someone. And I remember doing this, and every time I did it, this always would happen in some way. Someone would break it. They would break the rules and they would start speaking. I'd go over and I'd say, well, who's talking here? And obviously it'd say it's this person. So why were you speaking? And the person would normally be a bit defensive by this point because it's not nice to be addressed in this way and to be, have someone confident, like, actually be honest with me, right? And she's like, oh, well, this person, I was trying to help. I'm like, I know you, that's okay. I know it's well-meaning. It makes sense that you'd want to do that, but that's not of service to this person. What service to this person is that they're allowed to be heard, even if they're being silent. Now, what people often forget, or they don't know, is that when someone goes silent and they run out of things to say, they actually pause and they might struggle and their brain might go, ah! But if you leave it a little bit longer, something new emerges. It might be something they've forgotten about. It may be something they've never thought about before. But if you hold it, something will come. The only reason it doesn't tend to, for some people, is because they're busy concerned about the fact they've got nothing to say. So the thing they're thinking is, I've got nothing to say. So that overloads their thoughts. And that's just a practice thing you can get out of, right? But most people, if you leave it, they will just emerge and more will come out. I've seen this many times. I mean, I have people talk for very, very long times, especially from coaching, right? It can be a very long time. And there's always more to emerge. We are very complex as human beings. We have it, however old you are, you have an entire life's worth of experiences that are inside of you somewhere. They're deep within your memory bank. Some have not been accessed in a while, and so they're harder to reach, which can take longer for you to connect to. But you have an entire life's experience of the past, present, and future to draw upon, to talk about. And if you're having trouble in speaking for 2 or 3 minutes straight, that's not a problem with you as a human being and what you can share. That's just a problem with your relationship to speaking in that moment. That's all that's going on there. And you can adapt that and you can get better at that if you want to. And I recommend you do, in fact. So every time, so what I would do is, because of people would, even when I'd gone over and spoken to them, I'd come away and often it would happen again. And so I started to, when I open it up, I say, let that person be more important to you than your discomfort. Because the reality is, when someone has to speak and they think they're helping, it's not about the other person, it's that person's feeling discomfort and they're like, I want to save you right now, I want to rescue you. The person doesn't need to be rescued, it's just being silent for a couple of minutes. Nothing terrible's happening here. Allow that person to think more deeply. Allow that person to be, if they feel uncomfortable, allow that to happen. Give that person the respect of being heard and allow that person to be more important than your discomfort. Now, if you bring this to your friendships and your close personal relationships, and then you think about, well, what would you say to the people that you care about if they were more important than your discomfort? If it didn't matter how it felt, it didn't matter the consequences actually, even if the person it would be horrible to hear and might get upset. But if it's, what would you actually say that you think that person needs to hear? Bring your awareness to this, pay attention to your relationships and seek out the things you've not been saying, the things you've been holding back from saying. And you might be surprised at what you find. So this is what I call, when I do my coach training, I sort of train them to do this. It's called loving honesty, is how I frame it. Because you're being very honest, you're being very direct, but you're doing it in a loving way. So you're not trying to bulldoze someone. You're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. You're doing it because you care. You care enough that you're doing this. And it's very important that that person comes first. And so loving honesty, it's a great practice to even just to ask yourself that question. Just to say to the person, to say to yourself actually when you're with someone, it's like, well, what is the most lovingly honest thing that I could say in this moment? And it may be very uncomfortable for that person to hear. They may not like it in any way. But what is that? And by answering that question, you may find yourself able to be of service to your friends, to be able to deepen your bonds too. Because even if that person does react, what comes later, after the shock of, oh my God, you've been honest with me, might be a way of like, actually, yeah, I could do with some help. Could you help me with this? Because I don't know what to do. You never know what may come on the other side of that loving honesty. And there's just not enough of this going around. And I think it's vital. It's vital as a human being not to go around having people lie to you. Because this is what often happens too, right? Someone might say something you don't like. And so, I used to do this a lot, less so these days, but in the old days, and someone would say something, I don't like it. So instead of answering it, instead of responding in any way, just ignore it. And there might be an awkward silence, and then change the subject. So what that communicates in that moment is, that's really uncomfortable. I do not want to talk about it. I'm going to pretend that didn't happen, so you're going to as well. And so you're in that moment asking that person to lie in future, to hold back from telling you the truth, which is lying. It's the same principle, right? And so that's what you're doing. You know, if you aren't willing for people to say the honest things to you. Now, it's important. It's not about being a dick either, you know, because there's people who go around saying, yeah, I'm honest all the time, and they like parade it like a badge where they're just being brutal to people. It isn't about being brutal, but it's about being direct, and it's about being straightforward. And it's a very different thing. Now, what this does, it really simplifies life. It simplifies everything, really. What I've noticed is, one, it simplifies problem solving. So if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with the people around you, well, guess what? If something isn't working, you be honest with yourself and you go, what do I need to do? And there's steps that you need to take. Sometimes it might involve someone else. When it comes to someone else as well, when it comes to creating something, you know, if you want to create something incredible that you don't know how to do, guess what? If you're lovingly honest with yourself and with others, you're like, do you know what? I want to do this incredible thing, but I don't know how. Guess what? They might be able to help you. It shortcuts the process, is what it does. In fact, because of my new Superhuman program, right, I'm actually speaking to some astronauts at the moment, and I'm actually asking them for help to help me design this program as well. To help me, well, it's already designed, but to make it better into what it can be. I want to enhance it with some really cool stuff, right? So I'm asking people who don't know me, who are like, you know, have got no particular reason to help me. I'm asking for their help because I want this to be the greatest thing that's ever been created, actually, is what I want it to become. So there's lots of people I'm going to be speaking about to do this. But when you're willing to be honest about where you are and honest about the things in your life, suddenly what you want to create becomes much faster. You know, it's like rapid creation happens in your world in this way. And so that's what I'd say. That's what I'd say to do for yourself and others. It's make the people around you, the people that you care about, far more important than your own discomfort, and vice versa. Let your friends know that you're willing to feel, you'd rather feel uncomfortable than have them hold back. You know, let them know that you'd rather they be honest with you than for you to hold on to for you to pretend that you don't feel this discomfort anyway. Because either it's under the surface or it's overt. So walk through this world, letting your discomfort be less important than that of other people's truth, and vice versa. And notice what happens when you do. So, for those of you who enjoy this directness and are up for something really challenging, next year I do have my Becoming Superhuman program. It is a 4-month incredible intensive, which is, I mean, it's ambitious and it's extraordinary. As I've said, I'm actually recruiting at least one astronaut, perhaps others, to help me design something very unique, very challenging as well. That's going to transform people in ways that I've never been able to do before. It's very cool. It's becoming superhuman, right? It's being able to become the fullest potential of yourself moment by moment. That's what it is. And for me, I'm like, well, if you can do this, it'll be a form of training, right? Where it's a visceral experience that changes you physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Well, imagine if you could be your fullest potential moment by moment, day by day, week by week, year by year. Well, who could you become? And what could life be like? You know, that's what the program's all about. So if that sounds cool, and you're interested to know more, I'll be opening up applications soon, so you can drop me a private message and I'll let you know the details when they're ready. So thank you for being here. If you do have any questions or comments about anything that's come up today, post them here or private message me, as some of you have been doing, and I will address them and come back to them later because I want to hear from you. So thank you for being here. Oh, I'm going to be doing lives twice a week now, my Becoming Superhuman series, exploring all things superhuman and how to live your life on a daily basis in this way in many different areas of life. The next one will be next Tuesday. And so for those of you who want to join me there, I will see you then. Take care.